Have you ever wondered what it takes to make America great again? In 2011, years before his presidential campaign, Donald Trump laid out his blueprint for American renewal in a book that would prove to be remarkably prophetic. Today, we're diving deep into Time to Get Tough, a political manifesto that reads like a crystal ball into the future of American politics. This isn't just another political book gathering dust on shelves. This is Trump's unfiltered roadmap for transforming America, written with the raw intensity and no-nonsense approach that would later define his presidency. What makes this book absolutely fascinating is how it serves as the intellectual foundation for everything that followed. Long before Twitter storms and campaign rallies, Trump was methodically building his case for why America needed to fundamentally change direction. He wasn't just throwing out random ideas. He was constructing a comprehensive vision that would eventually resonate with millions of Americans who felt forgotten by the political establishment. Time to Get Tough emerged during a pivotal moment in American history. Published in December 2011, the book arrived as America was still recovering from the 2008 financial crisis, grappling with prolonged military engagements overseas and facing growing concerns about China's economic rise. Trump positioned himself not as a traditional politician, but as a successful businessman who understood how to negotiate, build, and win in the real world. The timing was crucial. President Obama was midway through his first term, and many Americans were questioning whether traditional political solutions could address the nation's mounting challenges. Trump sensed this frustration and offered himself as an alternative voice, someone who could cut through political correctness and deliver hard truths that career politicians wouldn't dare speak. What sets this book apart from typical political memoirs is Trump's direct conversational writing style. He doesn't hide behind his diplomatic language or carefully crafted political speak. Instead, he delivers his opinions with the same blunt force that characterizes business dealings and television appearances. This approach made the book accessible to ordinary Americans who were tired of politicians who seemed to talk around issues rather than addressing them head-on. The book serves multiple purposes simultaneously. It's part autobiography, part policy manifesto, and part business philosophy. Trump weaves together stories from his real estate empire, observations about international relations, and prescriptions for American renewal. He presents himself as someone who has succeeded in the private sector and can apply those same principles to governance. Trump's central thesis revolves around the idea that America has been too passive, too accommodating, and too willing to accept unfavourable deals on the international stage. He argues that other nations have taken advantage of American generosity and that it's time for America to start winning again. This theme of winning becomes a constant refrain throughout the book, reflecting Trump's competitive nature and his belief that success in business translates directly to success in politics. The book opens with Trump's assessment of America's position in the world circa 2011. He paints a picture of a nation that has lost its way, making poor decisions that have weakened its economic position and diminished its global influence. Trump argues that America's leaders have been outmaneuvered by foreign competitors who understand how to negotiate from positions of strength, while American politicians have been content to accept second-best outcomes. Trump's analysis focuses heavily on economic relationships, particularly trade deals that he believes have disadvantaged American workers and businesses. He presents detailed critiques of various international agreements, arguing that they were negotiated by people who didn't understand basic business principles. His background in real estate development provides the lens through which he evaluates these complex international relationships. The book also delves into domestic policy issues, with Trump offering his perspectives on healthcare, education, and government spending. He approaches these topics from a business efficiency standpoint, questioning why government programs often fail to deliver results despite massive expenditures. His solutions tend to emphasize market-based approaches and reduce bureaucratic interference. Foreign policy receives significant attention, with Trump arguing that America's military strength should be leveraged more effectively in diplomatic negotiations. He criticizes what he sees as weakness in dealing with adversaries and allies alike, suggesting that America's generosity has been mistaken for weakness by other nations. Throughout the book, Trump maintains that his outsider status is actually an advantage. He argues that career politicians are too invested in the current system to make the radical changes necessary for American renewal. His business success, he contends, demonstrates his ability to identify problems, develop solutions, and execute plans effectively. The narrative builds toward Trump's vision of American restoration, where strong leadership, better negotiations, and a focus on American interests first would restore the nation's prosperity and global standing. The first major theme Trump explores is America's trade relationships, particularly with China. He argues that China has been systematically manipulating its currency to gain unfair advantages in international trade, essentially stealing American jobs and wealth. Trump contends that Chinese leaders are laughing at American negotiators who consistently accept unfavourable terms. He proposes implementing tariffs and other measures to level the playing field, arguing that America has far more leverage than its leaders realise. His analysis suggests that previous administrations have been too concerned with maintaining diplomatic niceties rather than protecting American economic interests. Trump's second major focus involves America's military commitments overseas. He criticises the costs associated with maintaining troops in various countries, arguing that America provides security services without receiving adequate compensation. He specifically targets countries like Japan, South Korea and NATO allies, suggesting they should pay more for American protection. Trump argues that these nations have become too comfortable relying on American military might, while contributing insufficient resources to their own defence. He proposes treating these relationships more like business arrangements where services provided must be appropriately compensated. The third significant area addresses domestic energy policy. Trump advocates for expanded oil drilling and reduced dependence on foreign energy sources. He argues that America possesses vast untapped energy reserves that could simultaneously create jobs and reduce reliance on unstable regions. His vision includes streamlining regulatory processes that he believes unnecessarily delay energy development projects. Trump contends that environmental regulations, while important, have been weaponized by opponents of American energy independence to maintain the status quo. Healthcare reform represents Trump's fourth major policy area. He criticizes the complexity and inefficiency of the American healthcare system, arguing that market-based solutions could reduce costs while improving quality. Trump suggests that increased competition among healthcare providers and insurance companies would naturally drive down prices. He advocates for allowing insurance purchases across state lines and reducing regulatory barriers that limit consumer choices. His approach emphasizes consumer empowerment rather than government control. The fifth major theme involves immigration policy. Trump argues that America's immigration system has been poorly managed, allowing people to enter and remain in the country without proper documentation. He contends that this situation undermines American workers by creating unfair wage competition and strains public services. Trump proposes stricter enforcement of existing laws and better border security measures. He distinguishes between legal immigration, which he supports, and illegal immigration, which he argues must be addressed decisively. Trump's sixth major focus targets the political establishment itself. He argues that career politicians have created a system that serves their interests rather than those of ordinary Americans. He criticizes the influence of special interests and lobbyists in shaping policy decisions. Trump presents himself as someone who cannot be bought or influenced because of his independent wealth and business success. He suggests that this independence would allow him to make decisions based solely on what benefits America rather than what advances political careers. The seventh significant area involves educational policy. Trump criticizes the performance of American schools, particularly in comparison to international competitors. He argues that the educational establishment has become too focused on political correctness rather than academic excellence. Trump suggests that increased school choice and competition would improve educational outcomes. He advocates for merit-based teacher evaluation and compensation systems that reward excellence rather than tenure. Finally, Trump addresses government spending and fiscal responsibility. He argues that government programs often fail to deliver promised results despite consuming enormous resources. Trump suggests applying business principles to government operations, eliminating redundancy and inefficiency. He proposes reducing the size of government bureaucracy and focusing resources on core functions that actually serve the public interest. The first crucial takeaway from Trump's book is the importance of negotiating from strength rather than weakness. Trump repeatedly emphasizes that successful negotiations require leverage, preparation, and willingness to walk away from bad deals. He argues that America possesses enormous advantages in most international relationships but fails to utilize them effectively. This principle applies whether dealing with trade partners, military allies, or economic competitors. Trump's business experience taught him that the party with the most alternatives usually achieves the best outcomes. The second key insight involves the power of direct communication. Trump advocates for clear, unambiguous messaging that leaves no room for misinterpretation. He criticizes diplomatic language that obscures rather than clarifies intentions. Trump argues that straight talk, while sometimes uncomfortable, ultimately produces better results than carefully crafted ambiguity. This approach builds trust by ensuring all parties understand exactly what is expected and what consequences will follow from various actions. The third important lesson centers on the value of American independence. Trump argues that excessive reliance on foreign nations for essential goods and services makes America vulnerable to manipulation and coercion. He advocates for policies that strengthen domestic capabilities in energy, manufacturing, and technology. This doesn't mean isolationism, but rather ensuring that America maintains sufficient self-reliance to negotiate from a position of strength rather than desperation. The fourth takeaway emphasizes the importance of accountability in government operations. Trump argues that government programs should be evaluated using the same performance metrics applied to business ventures. Programs that fail to deliver promised results should be eliminated or dramatically restructured. He suggests that taxpayers deserve the same level of efficiency and effectiveness they expect from private sector services they purchase voluntarily. The fifth key insight involves the necessity of protecting American workers and businesses from unfair competition. Trump argues that free trade only works when all parties follow the same rules and face similar regulatory burdens. He contends that allowing foreign competitors to operate under different standards while expecting American businesses to comply with stricter regulations creates an unlevel playing field that ultimately hurts American workers and consumers. The sixth crucial takeaway focuses on the importance of strong leadership in times of crisis. Trump argues that effective leaders must be willing to make difficult decisions and accept responsibility for outcomes. He criticizes leaders who avoid tough choices or blame others when things go wrong. Trump suggests that Americans respect strength and decisiveness, even when they disagree with specific decisions. The seventh important lesson involves the power of American exceptionalism. Trump argues that America's unique history, values, and achievements justify putting American interests first in international relationships. He contends that other nations do this naturally, and that America's failure to prioritize its own interests has been interpreted as weakness rather than generosity. The eighth key insight emphasizes the importance of economic growth as the foundation for all other achievements. Trump argues that a strong economy enables military strength, social programs, and international influence. He contends that policies should be evaluated primarily based on their impact on economic growth and job creation for American workers. The ninth takeaway involves the necessity of immigration reform that serves American interests. Trump argues that immigration policy should prioritize skills and economic contribution rather than family, relationships, or historical patterns. He suggests that successful immigration policy requires both generous legal pathways and strict enforcement of existing laws. The 10th crucial lesson focuses on the importance of energy independence as a national security issue. Trump argues that nations that control their own energy supplies maintain greater flexibility in international relations. He contends that America's vast energy resources could provide both economic benefits and strategic advantages if properly developed and utilized. Time to Get Tough stands as a remarkable political document that predicted many of the themes that would dominate American politics throughout the following decade. Trump's 2011 analysis of America's challenges proved remarkably prescient, identifying issues that would become central to political debates for years to come. His emphasis on economic nationalism, immigration reform, and America First policies provided a blueprint that would eventually resonate with millions of Americans. What makes this book particularly significant is how it demonstrates Trump's consistent worldview across different contexts. The principles he articulated as a businessman remained constant when he entered politics. His emphasis on negotiation, strength, and American interests provided a coherent framework that transcended traditional political categories. This consistency helped explain why his later political messages felt authentic rather than calculated. The book also reveals Trump's understanding of American frustrations long before they became mainstream political issues. His critique of trade deals, military commitments, and political establishment resonated with Americans who felt that their interests had been subordinated to global considerations. Trump's outsider perspective allowed him to identify problems that career politicians either couldn't see or were unwilling to address. Perhaps most importantly, Time to Get Tough demonstrates the power of clear communication in political discourse. Trump's direct, unfiltered style cut through political correctness and diplomatic niceties to deliver messages that ordinary Americans could understand and evaluate. This approach, while controversial, proved highly effective in connecting with voters who were tired of traditional political rhetoric. The book's enduring relevance lies in its articulation of themes that continue to shape American politics today. Questions about trade, immigration, military commitments, and America's role in the world remain central to political debates. Trump's 2011 analysis provided a framework for understanding these issues that continues to influence political discourse years later.